Maybe now it will work in YouTube. Yeah, I haven't changed much from yesterday, but maybe now, yeah, I think now it's working in YouTube. Can you hear me? Yeah, I think it's all working now. Good. Sorry for the technical glitch. Yeah, yesterday went good, but I don't know what I did today. But now it's all good. Okay, I'll get my notes and we'll get started straight away. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to live session number 2 of the workshop Engineer Journey 2023. And thank you very much for keep going in your validation process. And thank you for those ones that participated last night in live session number 1. And thank you again for participating in live session number 2. In live session number 1, just a quick recap, we saw the opportunity for life transformation if you become an engineer here in Australia. We also saw the different pathways that you may have if you are an overseas qualified engineer. And we also saw the 6 steps for the CDR process if you have to follow the competency demonstration report, which is the majority of engineers. Okay. And for those that still don't know me, my name is Gerson Ida. I'm the founder of the website www.engineersinaustralia.com, a website that I created back in 2019 to share information and help you guys to get your validation a little bit easier, especially easier than when I had. And also I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land that we are meeting tonight. I am in Brisbane, so that's the Turrbal and the Jaguar people. And pay my respects to their elders past, present, and emerging. And also acknowledging any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander people that are participating in this live session. And as I've mentioned last night, tonight is also going to be quite a lot of content, a little bit of different of the what's in the booklet, because I've included the top questions and top mistakes, 7 questions and top 7 mistakes that usually engineers they make from my observations and from what engineers they tell me and what engineers they ask me. So I thought about sharing with you the most common questions and the most common mistakes that I see, so you guys can, 1, avoid those mistakes, and 2, you can then not having those questions, which will save you a lot of time and a lot of energy. And apart from the top questions and the top mistakes, I'm going to talk about if you are or if you were a self-employed engineer, or if you are or if you were a business owner, engineering business owner. Can you validate your qualification here in Australia? And also the last part is going to be about the CPD, the Continuing Professional Development. I'm going to give you guys 6 practical examples of CPD. And if we have time, I'm going to share where you can actually accrue, where you can get your CPD events, your Continuing Professional Development events. And this is live session number 2. Remember that we have 3 live sessions. The last one is going to be tomorrow. And tomorrow I'm going to talk about the career episodes, the summary statement, the risks of plagiarism, and also the Engineers Australia revision process if your application is not successful. But let's concentrate in the top questions and top mistakes that we're going to see tonight. And if you have any particular question, you're more than welcome to pop in the comments, and I'll keep an eye on the comments and I will be answering those ones. And also a reminder about your chance to get 75% discount in my online mentoring program. I'm going to be opening a new group during the closing webinar on Thursday, and I will be giving away 75% discount in my mentoring program to somebody who follows the rules in my post in Instagram. I'm going to show you guys the post. Which one is that? That's this one. Hopefully you guys can see. Get rid of the glare. Yeah. So that is the post that you need to go in my Instagram. There are a few things that you need to do there. You need to like the post, Mark an Engineer, follow my profile, and take a screenshot of tonight's live session. Well, yeah, last night, tonight, and tomorrow evening's live session, and post in your stories. Mark my name in your stories so I get a notification that you did it, and write in the comments one learning from each of the live sessions. So a learning from last night's live session, a learning from tonight's live session, and a learning from tomorrow evening's live session. And then during the closing webinar, I will be uploading the comments in the system, and then the system will choose randomly somebody, and this somebody is going to win 75% discount in my online mentoring program. So you have until Thursday to do all of those tasks. If you didn't have time last night, if you did not attend, you can always go to the workshop hub. I'm going to paste the link here as well. Workshop.com, and you can always watch the replay. So that's the workshop website, and the replay is available there as well. Good. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to play a very quick video again from Leila. She, remember last night, she's been validated back in 2020, and in this very short video, she's saying what does it mean for her now that she was validated as a civil engineer. So again, motivation videos are very good because the journey is going to be very tough, and it's always good to be motivated. So hopefully it will also work with the PowerPoint, because we had issues with the microphone in the beginning. Hopefully it will work with the PowerPoint.
Bom, assim, pelo que eu entendi agora, não é só bom para o visto, que obviamente isso é um pré-requisito para tu aplicar, que eu estou, no meu caso, eu estou aplicando para o 491, mas ele te dá a possibilidade de abrir portas para realmente a gente trabalhar com o que a gente estudou, sabe? Com o que a gente realmente gosta. Então, agora eu sei aqui na Tasmânia, com esse reconhecimento, né, eu consigo trabalhar como engenheiro civil. Então, me abre portas para muitas empresas, para muitas vagas. E eu acho que isso eu acho que faz bem até para autoestima, sabe? Porque agora eu sou engenheiro civil na Austrália também.
Engenheiro civil na Austrália.
Exatamente. Não, é muito bom e importante, sabe? Vale todo o esforço.
E essa deve ser uma das principais mudanças, né, na sua vida agora, né?
Exatamente. Agora eu tô começando uma nova etapa, né? Que também não é fácil, não vai ser fácil achar o primeiro trabalho como engenheira, mas pelo menos agora eu tenho os requisitos, né? Os pré-requisitos para isso.
Yes, and congratulations to Leila. And she got her validation, and she also got her visa. Yeah, soon after she got her validation, she applied for her visa, and she got her visa as well. So congratulations, Leila. And so we go straight to the top 7 questions. Again, those questions are the questions that I received the most during the live session. I'm going to do a live session on Sunday where I'm going to be giving away or delivering the free consulting with Cesar. I saw that Cesar is here. So 8 p.m. Brisbane time, we're going to have a live session on YouTube and Instagram on Sunday. and I'm going to be delivering, giving him the 15 minutes of free consulting. And also after that consulting session, I'm going to be also having question and answer sessions on Sunday. And also I'm going to probably do another one, maybe 2 question and answer sessions next week as well. So question number 1, a very common question that I receive, and maybe you have this problem as well. And the question says, the company I used to work does not exist anymore. What can I do to demonstrate my reference letter to verify my work in that period? Can I get a letter from the client that hired the job certifying that I worked as an engineer? Yeah, that's a very common question, and especially because majority of my audience is from Brazil. In Brazil, unfortunately, the situation there sometimes can be a little bit difficult, and companies, they go broke, they go belly up, they bankrupt, whatever, or they close doors or whatever is the terminology that you want to use. But they stop activities, for example. And if they stopped activities and you didn't get a letter at the time, obviously the company is not working anymore, so you won't be able to get a letter. My first advice is, if you can think about another experience from a company that's still operating, that would be my first advice, because it's always better and it's going to be simpler for your process if you can get a reference letter from a company that's still operating, because the Engineers Australia assessor can ring them and check information. Yeah, Jerson, but I just worked in one company and that company closed the doors. All right, if you just have that option, well, you don't really have a lot of options. So potentially you could get a letter from your client, the client that hired the company and you worked in that company. The client can say that you worked in that company as an engineer. However, it will depend on the assessor. The assessor from Engineers Australia, the person that is evaluating your application, that person, the assessor, can accept, may not accept. So it's going to be dependent on the assessor's discretion. In that case, if you just have one work experience and if that company closed the doors, if I was in your shoes, I would probably try to choose an academic experience, academic engineering experience. And because you can do that, you can use an academic experience. It doesn't need to be just work experience. You can use academic experience. So I would probably do that, because it's a bit dubious in terms of getting a letter from the client. You have to find many other documentation, especially from government. If you have a contract signed with the company that closed the doors, if you have an exit agreement as well, and then all of those statements, social security, superannuation, tax return, and those sort of things as well. Question number 2. I am an engineer that the occupation is not in the ANZ SEO occupation in Engineers Australia. For example, metallurgical engineer. Is it considered as part of mechanical engineer, including specialization? And the answer is no. The classification of metallurgical engineer would be under the professional engineer, not elsewhere classified, or professional engineer, NEC. And there's a particular code, ANZ SEO code for that. It's 233999. So you can actually use this code as professional engineer, not elsewhere classified, for any engineering occupation that is not in the list. So if your field of engineering is not in the list, you can then use the professional engineer, not elsewhere classified. Question number 3. As a graduate engineer with less than 12 months from the graduation, is there a minimum period of time after graduation that I need to wait? How many hours do I need to demonstrate a CPD? I'm going to talk about CPD today anyway, but you don't need a minimum period of time to demonstrate your CPD. Even if you are a fresh graduate, obviously, if you graduated just 1 year ago, or even if you just graduated a few months ago, Engineers Australia, they will know that you didn't really have enough time to accumulate a lot of a CPD. In fact, when I asked this question to Engineers Australia, they returned to me saying that the importance of the CPD usually is for those engineers that are more mature. If you graduated like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, that's when CPD is really important, because Engineers Australia, they want to make sure that you kept yourself up to date with the technology, with the innovations in engineering, with the best practices in engineering. Yeah, Jerson, but I saw in Engineers Australia, and some people, they say that there's a minimum of 150 hours in the last 3 years. Yes, there is this requirement, but it doesn't count for the validation process. The requirement of having 150 hours in the last 3 years is if you want to apply for your CPEng, your Chartered Professional Engineer, or if you want to renew your CPEng. And also if you're going to apply for registration in the States, Queensland or Victoria or New South Wales, etc., you will, here in Queensland, you need at least 150 hours in the last 3 years. Victoria and New South Wales are probably going to require the same amount of hours as CPD. And I'm going to talk about CPD a little bit later on as well. Question number 4. I am 45 years old engineer with more than 15 years of experience in practicing engineering. Will my age restrict the qualification validation process? What about subsequent visa application? Well, there are 2 separate questions and there are 2 separate scenarios. One thing is the validation of your engineering qualification. And for that, there's no age limit. So you can be 45, you can be 50, you can be 60 years old. There's no age limitation for your validation process. In fact, I have a student that he is in his 60s, and last year he got validated as a mechanical engineer. So there's no age limit for the validation process. He is already a permanent resident because of his daughter, so he didn't really need to apply for a visa because he had already a visa as a permanent resident. However, for subsequent visa application, and as I am not a registered migration agent, I cannot really give migration advice, but I do know that if you are 45 years or older, there are very limited options for you to migrate to Australia. There are few options, and I certainly encourage you guys, if you are 45 years old or older, I do encourage you guys to talk to a registered migration agent here in Australia and explore your options. But for the validation process of your qualification, there's no age limit. Question number 5. Question number 5. I've worked as an engineering technician for 3 years while completing my bachelor degree. Can I write career episodes using my experience and skills while an engineering technician? That's a very good question. Theoretically, you could. You just need to be careful, because if your experience, work experience, was as an engineering technician, and this scenario is very common. A lot of engineers, they graduated as technicians first, and then they were working as technicians, and then they were also studying to become a professional engineer. So that's very common scenario. You just need to take care and be careful, because if you're going to write your experiences using your technician work experience, you may not be able to address the level of competency required for professional engineers, which means that your career episode may not be as complex or as technically relevant as a professional engineer. It could be relevant as an engineering technician, but if you're going to apply for the category of professional engineer using engineering technician work experience, you may find yourself in some trouble, because Engineers Australia may come back to you and say, sorry, but the experience that you presented to us does not meet the enough technical complexity for the professional engineer level, and they might offer you a technician level as your validation. If that's going to work for you in your visa, it's up to you. You need to talk to your migration agent, but just be careful if you're going to use an engineering technician, even an engineering technologist experience, because you may not be able to address the competencies required for professional engineers. If you're going to apply as an engineering technician, yeah, that's fine, because your experience is as an engineering technician. You are going to apply as engineering technician. It's all good. Question number 6. Do I need to certify copies as part of the CDR, Competency Demonstration Report? Do I need to have my documents that are not in English language translated? Yes. If you are going to upload documents that are not in English language, they need to be translated by an authorized translator. Yeah, Jerson, but do they need to be from NATI, that association here in Australia for the translators and interpreters? No, you don't need to engage an Australian NATI translator. You can engage a translator from your country, as long as this translator obviously is qualified, accredited as a translator, has the identification number, contact details, and obviously some sort of a stamp, or which is going to have the number and obviously contact details. But if you haven't translated documents yet, maybe it is worthwhile trying to connect to some of the NATI translators here in Australia, because especially those ones that are already used to engineering documents, so they can translate the documents more accurately. Because some technical terminology, if the translator is not used to the technical terminology, they could be translating something else. One important thing, very basic but very important, is that when you're going to upload or when you're going to scan your documents, you need to be scanning your documents with high resolution in color, minimum of 300 dpi. So that's very important. I've seen many engineers scanning documents in black and white and low resolution, and Engineers Australia is asking them to redo it. I'm going to answer question number 7, and then I'm going to be reading some of the questions that are there. And also, I received just one photo, and thanks Cesar, of the Post-it notes. Remember that in the opening webinar, I've asked you guys if you guys can write a Post-it note saying, I will become an engineer in Australia in 2023. If you write that Post-it note and put on your fridge, take a photo and send it to me. And during the closing webinar, I'm going to give you guys a very good surprise for those that send a picture of the Post-it note stuck on the fridge. So you can send me a direct message in Instagram. You can send me if you are in the Facebook, you can send me in the Messenger. If you are in the WhatsApp group, you can send me a message in WhatsApp as well. So you're not going to regret if you do that. And for that, it's not going to be a draw. Everybody that sends me a photo of the Post-it note will win. So I'm not going to choose. You will win if you send me a photo of the Post-it note on your fridge. You will win. And I'll tell you what you're going to win during the closing webinar on Thursday. So question number 7. If I pass the qualification validation, will I obtain an engineer license to allow me to work in Australia? That's a very common question. People think that because they got validated, they can start working as an engineer in Australia. You need to remember that the validation process is one thing, and working in Australia is a different thing. To be able to work in Australia, you need to make sure that you have a visa that allows you to work in Australia. Or obviously, if you are a citizen, you can. But if you're not a citizen, Australian citizen, you need to have a visa that allows you to work. Just because you got validated as an engineer, it doesn't really mean that you can work here. If you have already permission to work because you're an international student, or because your partner is studying and you are on the same visa as a dependent, and then you can work, or maybe you have already a graduate visa that you can work, then it's different. If you get validated, obviously you could work already. But it means that when you get your validation, it will probably be easier for you to get a job as an engineer, because companies and recruitment companies, they will value your qualification validation. Okay. Going to have a look at some of the questions. Yeah, thanks Wendell in YouTube. He's asking Portuguese, so I'm going to translate. After you get your validation as an engineer, do you get the permanent visa automatically? Yeah, unfortunately not, Wendell. The validation, once you get validated as an engineer, you will get a letter, like the letter that I showed you guys from Engineers Australia, saying that your qualification and your skills are similar, equivalent to the professional engineer here in Australia. And they give you a letter with the ANZ SCO code. With that code is pretty much what you can use in your migration process. You will need to apply for a visa. The only thing is that in Australia, it's a matter of points. When you get your validation, you get points. If you don't get your validation, you don't get points. And depending on the type of migration, it's a prerequisite for you to get your validation first, so you can become eligible to apply for a particular visa. So that's why it's very important for you to consult with your migration agent and explore the options. What category could I apply? Professional engineer, technologist, technician, does it matter? Sometimes it doesn't matter. Okay. Monte Cristo. Do you need a reference letter from an academic project that you did, or only for professional experience? Very good question. Thank you very much, Monte Cristo. The academic project, Engineers Australia usually, when you write about an academic experience, they usually ask you to send a copy of your academic report. If you have your academic report, then you just need to scan and send it. You don't need even to translate it. Usually, academic reports, they have an executive summary which is already in English. So you could send that page, and then the other ones you just scan in your own language. You don't need to translate and spend money on that. But if you don't have the academic report for some reason, you don't have it, what I talk to my students is that they can contact the university and see if they can get a letter. So, because the letter is important to confirm the things that you say that you did in your career episode. In Instagram, I think there were some questions there. Yeah, Bernardo, I think. Bernardo, he's asking, hi Gerson, can I use a letter of appointment and payslip for CDRs only? Letter of appointment and payslips. Well, usually those documents, if you're going to validate your work experience, there are the primary documents and the secondary documents. The primary documents usually is your reference letter, and the secondary documents are those documents that Bernardo just mentioned. Letter of appointment, contract documents, bank statements, tax return, social security statements, superannuation statements, bank statements, carteira de trabalho, those ones from Brazil, those would be the secondary documents. If you're going to do CDR, you will need to write the 3 career episodes. You will need to write your CPD, your continuing professional development, and also you will need to write your summary statement. But the payslip and letter of appointment, maybe you want to ask if that's going to be able to replace the reference letter. I'd say that it's a bit questionable. If you don't have a reference letter, it can be questionable because you will need to get contact details and especially the functions that you did in the company that will be in the reference letter. Sometimes the letter of appointment or the payslips, they may not have the main functions that you did at work. All right, so before talking about the mistakes, I'm going to just show you guys a quick video from Walter, another few seconds there, and he's going to say what he can achieve after his validation. He's an environmental engineer, so let's see what Walter has to say to us.
Mas a questão da validação, você consegue ticar o box ali, que você já consegue comprovar o seu skill, né?
Na minha opinião, é o primeiro e o maior passo que eu tenho que dar para poder chegar a um PR.
Yeah, that was very quick. Yes, he said, I don't know if you guys could hear that. Think it, no? Well, I'll play it again because it was so quick that it doesn't matter if I play it again.
Mas a questão da validação, você consegue ticar o box ali, que você já consegue comprovar o seu skill, né?
Na minha opinião, é o primeiro e o maior passo que eu tenho que dar para poder chegar a um PR.
And that's what I said. The validation process is a prerequisite for majority of the visas involving obviously skills. So if you're going to apply for independent or sponsored or whatever, you will need your skills validated. So, and that's what he can achieve. And I have another student, Erica. She got validated as a civil engineer as well back in 2021. And just, I think it was last month or the month before, he got her permanent visa. So it is certainly a life transformation. All right, so now we're going to talk about the top 7 mistakes that usually engineers they make during the validation process. Obviously, there are many more mistakes and there are many more questions. And those questions that I received from you guys, especially from the emails that you guys sent to me, replying that you received my email and you put a question in there. I'm going to be answering probably during the closing webinar and during the question answer sessions that I'm going to do this Sunday and next week as well. All right, mistake number 1, and they're not really in order. Number 1, it doesn't really mean that it's the top 1. I chose the top 7 mistakes. So mistake number 1, it's about the English test. Some engineers, they wait until they get the minimum English test scores to start preparing their competency demonstration report. And that's probably a good opportunity for you to, hit the like button if you think that the information is relevant and it's helping you to understand better the validation process. And don't forget that when you hit the like button, sends me positive energy to keep going. and also tells YouTube and Instagram that the content is relevant and they can distribute to other engineers. And if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel yet, I invite you to check my YouTube channel, my almost or more than 300 videos that I have in there. And perhaps this year I have good vibes that I will break the 1,000 subscribers. I think that we have now 920 or 930 subscribers. So it would be great to break the barrier of the 1,000 subscribers. All right, English tests. Why do I say that it's a mistake for you to wait until you have your English test or get better in English before you start preparing your competency demonstration report or your validation process? One, because you need your English test, of course, the minimum scores to apply for your validation. But think with me. Let's say that you could start your validation this week, but then you think, well, my English is not very good. I'm going to get better. Maybe in 6 months' time, I will be better, and then I'll start my validation. And then you study your English in 6 months' time, which is going to be around, let's say, January 2024. You do your English test, and then you get your 50, let's say, for example, in PTE. You get 50 in all bands. That's January. And then you think, well, now I got my English, I'm going to start doing my validation process. And then you will take probably between 3-4 months. If you're really dedicated, it may take you a month. But average, I'd say that you will take between 3 to 4, maybe 6 months until you finish your validation process. If you finish, let's say, 4 months, if you get your English test in January, another 4 months will be in May 2024. And then in May 2024, you will apply. And then if you apply fast track, you will get in 30 days, roughly. And if you don't apply fast track, it can take 2, 3, 4 months until you get your validation process done. So let's say that you pay another $320 or so, and then you get your fast track, you get in 30 days, which is going to be end of June next year. However, if you start your validation now, even though your English may not be good, but you start your validation now, it will take the same time. It will take, let's say, 4 months. Another 4 months will be July, will be about November. But between now and November, just focus on what you're going to be doing. You will be reading English. You will be reading technical magazines. You will be reading technical specifications. You will be participating in Engineers Australia webinars because you want to get the technical terminology. You will be organizing your thinking, reading, interpreting, and doing summaries. You will be writing your career episodes as a draft or not, but you'll be thinking, you'll be planning, you'll be writing, you're going to be rewriting for 4 months. You will be watching my videos. You will be participating in my workshops, and they all in English. Even though I'm fluent in Portuguese, I could be doing this workshop in Portuguese. But I think it's very important for you guys, even though my English is not perfect because I'm not native English speaker, but I think it's better than nothing. And you get already used to English. You will need English. And then after 4 months of writing, reading, interpreting, listening, drafting, you will get better in English. And don't forget that during these 4 or 5 months, you're still studying whatever you're studying. So, which means that when you do your tests, let's say in January, and let's say that you still have your plan to do your test in January, and then you get your 50 or even more in PTE in January. But in January, you will have already your career episodes, summary statement, and CPD and all documentation ready, because we're talking about 6 months. And you will be able to finish in 4 months if you do it in the right way. And then when you are in January, you have already everything ready. You're just waiting for your English test to submit your application. And then you get your English test in January, you apply for your validation, you pay fast track, and another 30 days, by the end of February, you will get your validation. So we're talking about a savings of 4 or 5 months. So that's why I say that it's a mistake for you to wait until you get your English test, because as soon as you get your English test, you will take few months until you get your validation. And it's very important that as soon as you can get your validation, is going to be better. There's another question from Leonardo in YouTube. Sorry, Leonardo. I'm currently an environmental engineer in Brazil, close to completing 2 years of postgraduate experience. How many years do you recommend that I have experience in Brazil? Well, in terms of the validation process, you actually don't need any experience. You can validate your qualification without any experience. You can use your academic experience to validate your qualification. But obviously, if you have 2 years of postgraduate experience, perhaps your experience could be very relevant to the environmental engineer validation, and then you can use those experiences as part of your career episodes. And that could be better, that could be easier. But in fact, you don't need experience to validate your qualification. Aradhana Chopra, do I need an English score while applying for assessment? Yes. When you apply for your assessment, you need to upload a valid English test score. And valid English test score is an English test either from IELTS, PTE, or TOEFL. And you have to have minimum scores for each of the 4 bands: reading, writing, listening, and speaking. These are valid English test scores. If you upload a test score that's not valid, your application will be rejected. All right, mistake number 2. Mistake number 2, not reading the migration skills assessment booklet. This is a very common mistake that can cost you a lot of time and money. In the Engineers Australia booklet, all the information that you need is in the booklet. Oh yeah, Gerson, but if the information is on the booklet, why do you do this workshop? Well, I use obviously the booklet as a basis, and what I include in the workshop is my experience and some interpretation of things that are in the booklet. Because the booklet, have you read the booklet already? Yeah, that's a very good opportunity for us to participate and engage. So say yes if you read the booklet already. Obviously no if you haven't. Or write so if you started but you haven't finished yet. So yes if you read it, no if you didn't read, and so if you started but you didn't finish. So yeah, Wagner, I think it's Wagner, is in Instagram, said yes, he did. Yeah, good on you. Very, very important. Cesar, no. It's certainly very important to read the booklet. And it's not a very easy reading, especially with the new booklet, which is in the Engineers Australia website. There are a few links, and you need to click in all those links. When you're reading, and then you see that there's a link. For example, when they talk about the competencies for professional engineers. The older booklet, which is this one from 2020, I think. Yeah, this one. This booklet had 50 pages. The current booklet, I think it's got about 15 pages or so. But there's many links. And when you click on each of the links, obviously there's a new document, there's a new document, there's a new document. Sorry. If you add up all those pages, I think it will get close to 50 pages. So, but it is really, really important. It's a very, very big mistake if you didn't read the booklet. You will need to read the booklet not just once, but probably twice, 3 times, 4 times. Mistake number 3. That's a very basic mistake. And usually for those people that didn't read the booklet. Documents in English. Obviously, documents that are not in English language, you need to translate. Those that don't read the booklet probably can send without translation. But also, there are some documents that you can ask to be done in English, and then you can save some money. For example, reference letters. If you're going to ask for a reference letter from your company, send them 2 versions, one in your mother language, another in English, and ask them if they could sign both of them, both in your mother language and other in English. If they send you back the letter in English, then you can upload the English version, and then you save yourself $20, $30, $40. I don't know how much is per page. Let's say $40. And then you save yourself $40. If you have 3 or 4 reference letters, you save yourself $160 already. And you know, $160, it's 5-6 hours of work, almost 1 day of work if you're working part-time. So you can save yourself some money there. And don't forget that if you're going to translate the document, you need to send the translation as well as the document in the original language. So just don't send just the translation. If you're going to send the translation, you also need to send the document in the original language as well. But the translators are really good, at least the ones that we use here. When they send back the translated documents, they already put the original document in the same kind of a framework. Mistake number 4. Mistake number 4 is about the International Engineering Alliance. And some applicants, they don't really do their due diligence in checking the relevant accord. Remember yesterday that we spoke about the Washington Accord for professional engineers, the Sydney Accord for engineering technologists, and the Dublin Accord for engineering associates or engineering technicians. And even yesterday or last night, we had one of the participants from India that he is eligible for the Washington Accord. So if you, assuming, let's pretend that he didn't check the accord and was going to do the CDR process. So having to write all those career episodes and summary statement and everything else, instead of just providing CPD and filling the form for the Washington Accord. And would be wasting a lot of time, and probably I think it's more expensive if you do the CDR rather than the Washington Accord as well. So, and because my audience is very international, there could be other people tonight here that they are from countries that they are eligible to apply under the Washington Accord for professional engineers, for example. Mistake number 5. Mistake number 5 is about the career episodes. And I tried to, it's not just one mistake, but I put few mistakes that usually people do in the career episodes. I've got a list here of few mistakes, but there's many more that people usually do. So some of the most common mistakes in the career episodes. One is that the career episode is not complex enough for the occupational category chosen. And why is this a mistake? Well, we haven't seen yet about the summary statement, but when you're writing your career episodes, and I'm going to talk about the career episodes tomorrow, but when you're writing career episodes, you have 16 competencies that you need to address in each of those career episodes. And if your experience is not complex enough, it's going to be very difficult for you to address those 16 competencies. So that's the reason why one of the mistakes is to choose an experience that is not complex enough. Another mistake in the career episode, it could be that there's no engineering problem to be solved, or the problem that you chose, they are in a lower category. Let's say that you are applying for a professional engineer, and then you choose a problem that is in the category of engineering technician. So that is a mistake, and that happens. Sometimes people, they think that that particular problem is an engineering, professional engineer problem, when in fact the problem has a level of a technician level. So that is a mistake. Another mistake is that, just reading my notes here, that you are using too much of project management aspects in your career episode. let's say that the focus of your career episode is about project management experience that you did. So that is one mistake. Why is that, Jerson? Because project management and engineers, they always kind of close together. Yes, they are close together. But project manager is not project engineer. Project manager is a manager. It's a manager that manages project. And Engineers Australia, they are there to assess your engineering skills. They are not there to assess your project management skills. So just take care that when you are going to choose your experience, that you choose an experience that is an engineering experience. And that engineering experience will have some components of project management. There's actually some competencies that you can use your project management experiences, but the focus of your experience should not be project management. It should be engineering focus. All right. Mistake number 6. Taking risks of plagiarism. So this is a very important point to talk about. And I'm going to talk about plagiarism tomorrow. But what you need to know tonight as a mistake is that many applicants, many engineers, they feel tempted to hire somebody to write the career episodes on their behalf. Maybe because they're not good writers and they lazy, or they don't want to write, they're busy doing other things, they're busy working, or they're busy traveling, or they're busy studying, and they don't have time to prioritize to write career episodes. They ended up engaging other companies. And those companies will promise you that they will provide you also plagiarism-free reports. But Engineers Australia, they use very advanced software to detect plagiarism. And they know that there are people that write career episodes here. And obviously their software is already programmed to catch those plagiarism. And I received many calls from many engineers almost begging that for me to help them because they got caught by plagiarism. And obviously the company is saying, well, you got caught, you don't need to pay us. And that's it. But it's not a good outcome for you. Even though you don't need to pay, obviously you don't need to pay because they promise you that you're not going to get caught. And then you got caught by plagiarism, and then you take the risk. You're risking to be banned up to 3 years. So, and I cannot help. One, because I don't do one-on-one consulting. I don't do that. What I do mentoring program. I teach you how to write, so nobody needs to write on your behalf. You can write yourself, and you can write in the right way. That's what I teach. I don't write to my students because it's plagiarism. So, and there's a video from Leila that she talks about it that I'm going to show tomorrow. Obviously, you are all adults. You can do whatever you want to do. I'm here just to alert of the risks. And you could be banned for up to 3 years. And if you are banned for 3 years, you need to think about something else to do in this period. And once you apply again, Engineers Australia, obviously they know that you got caught by plagiarism. I'm pretty sure that they will look at your assessment with very, very big attention. Another question from Bernardo here in Instagram. He's asking, does a skill of summary skills need to be on all three or can be on one or two? Yeah, that's a very common question as well, Bernardo. In the booklet, it doesn't really say yes or no. What I advise my students, and that's what I teach my students to do in my mentoring program, is for them to include all 16 competencies in all 3 career episodes. And that's why I have 27 students that applied already, and those 27 students got approved already because they do what I teach them to do, and they include all the 16 competencies in all 3 career episodes. And they prepare a very strong career episodes where the assessor cannot not approve because they're very, very solid and they're very strong. Mistake number 7. Mistake number 7 is about the summary statement. Not addressing the competencies with the right content. When you read the booklet and then when you read the competencies, let's say for professional engineers, you will see that it's quite confusing to understand the competencies. And you need to think about what examples can you use to address those competencies that you can write in your career episode. And it's not easy. And I'll tell you that because as an engineer, I probably got better in do that because I did a training about my certificate 4 in training and assessment. And I've learned how to address competencies because when I was teaching my students business and project management, I had also to assess their assignments. And I had to verify if they had addressed the competencies. So that's why I learned how to address competencies. And when you read the competencies, some of them are quite easy to understand, but others, they're not very easy. And you may not use the right content. You may not use the right example to match with that competency. And that is a mistake, a critical mistake, because if you're not addressing the competencies, you will not be approved. Simple as that. And Engineers Australia is very clear of that, saying, sorry, but you did not address the competency. Please rewrite your career episode. How many of you already saw those messages and posts in Facebook? Oh, I received this feedback. I have to rewrite my career episode. Can somebody else help me, etc., etc. Why do they have to rewrite their career episodes? It's because they didn't choose good examples. They didn't choose good experiences. And that's certainly critical. Just to break the ice, I'm going to show another very quick video from Leila, and she's going to talk about what was her biggest fear before being part of my mentoring program. She was, especially because she was a participant of my first group back in 2019.
Bom, o meu maior medo é que talvez essa mentoria não me ajudasse tanto quanto eu precisava, assim, que as dicas fossem mais assim, mais do mesmo, assim, mais do que assim, outras palavras com o que está escrito no booklet, sabe? Porque, na verdade, muita gente fala assim, pode fazer sozinho. Eu acho que pode fazer sozinho. E eu acho, assim, interessante quem consegue, mas eu não estava entendendo muito bem o que cada critério queria dizer, quais são, tipo assim, exemplos de experiências ou de coisas que eu fiz que provavam aquele requisito. Então, isso era a minha grande dúvida. Então, eu tinha medo que o teu trabalho não me esclarecesse essas dúvidas.
Se fosse só uma repetição daquilo que...
fosse só uma repetição do que já estava escrito lá. Esse era um receio.
Yeah, and that's a fear that it's very comprehensible. But what I can say about this is that for those ones, obviously, my students, they know that for each of the competencies that I cover, I give several examples, especially because of this difficulty of not matching the right content to each of the competencies. That was my difficulty. And because it was my biggest difficulty, I made my mentoring program very easy. With each competency is a module, and for each module, I give several examples that you can relate to your own experience, and then you think, so this example I can use in this competency. Okay, yeah. So that's why it's not the same. It's not just a booklet in different words. Just with the examples, you will get all the benefits. All right. I'm now going to talk about some of the questions that people ask me, or suggestions that if some engineers, especially around the world, there's a lot of self-employed engineers, which are autonomous in Portuguese, or some of the engineers, they were business owner. They used to own an engineering company. So they were asking, can I validate my qualification if I was a self-employed engineer or a business owner? And the answer is yes, and the process is very similar. In terms of the personal information, nothing will change. In terms of the category and the occupation that you need to choose, nothing really change. Unless if you were a business owner, perhaps you could be aligned to the engineering manager if you were not really on the field, if you were more like the business manager there. So potentially you could be applying as an engineering manager. The main changes are going to be with skilled employment. Why is that, Gerson? Well, if you were a self-employed, if you were an autonomo, you can't really give a letter to yourself, even as a business owner. You cannot say, I'm going to give a reference letter of myself, for myself, from myself. You can't do that. So what you could do, you could get is, if you were a self-employed providing service to a company, obviously then you can go to the company and ask for a reference letter as the service provider. So similar letter to what an employee would get, but you would get as a service provider. As a business owner, if you were providing services to another company, similar thing. But if you were delivering projects yourself with your company, then you probably need to go to your accountant and get a letter from the accountant in terms of the payments and the pay slips. And then if you have CREA or ARTs, annotation of technical responsibility, you can probably get those, because those ones will have the scope of the projects that you delivered as well. So The differences are probably in the skilled employment evidences. Everything else will be probably the same. And then the last part of tonight is going to be about the CPD, your continuing professional development, which is the first of the 3 types of reports that you need to write. The first report is a CPD, the second report are the career episodes, and the third type of report is your summary statement. And then tonight for the CPD, continuing professional development, I'm going to give you 6 practical examples. Because CPD, it's not just courses that you did. Sometimes people say, oh, Gerson, but since I left university, I've never done any post-graduation, I've never done any specialization course. So it doesn't need to be that. And I'll show you here what you could use as continuing professional development events. Just about the CPD, what the booklet says as well, that the CPD needs to be just 1 page and the size is A4 and it's got to be a list. So cannot be more than 1 page. So you need to be careful. You can use like a page and use a Word or Excel and create like a table, and then you can start putting your CPD events in there. All right. And another common question about the CPD is if you need to upload copies of the certificates if you've done a course, for example. And the answer is no, you don't need to upload copies of your certificates for the CPD. And I think this is the last video that I'm going to share with you guys from Walter. He's going to give you some really good hints about the validation process that he was successful. So let's hear this quick video here.
É bem fácil responder essa pergunta, porque ficou muito claro o booklet para mim. No momento que eu, depois do curso, depois das aulas ali, das nossas reuniões, ficou claro o entendimento do booklet. Eu sabia o que eu tinha que fazer, aonde eu tinha que procurar as informações corretas para cada etapa do meu career episodes ou de todo o processo. Summary statement, eu sabia que como eu tinha que escrever cada etapa. Não só o booklet diz para você o que você tem que fazer. Nessa etapa do curso, depois de ver os vídeos, eu sabia como fazer tal coisa. Então, eu tinha esse fundamento, eu tinha essa dica sua ali. Até algumas dicas de inglês. Você não está ensinando inglês para a gente ali, mas às vezes a gente traduz uma coisa.
A terminologia, né?
Usa uma terminologia diferente e acaba comprometendo todo o entendimento do que tu quer transmitir ali no teu episódio de carreira.
Yeah, thanks, Walter. Yeah, thanks for the feedback. All right, so again, I saw that there are a few new people that joined the live session, and I want to remind you guys about the 75% discount that you may get just by following the rules in the description. On Thursday during the closing webinar, I'm going to be giving away 75% discount in my mentoring program. I'm going to be opening a new group, and you have the chance to win 75% discount. So what you need to do, if you go to the comments, there is the link in my Instagram post. You just need to go there, take a screenshot of tonight's live session, and then post in your stories and mark my name. And then you go back to the post and like the post, follow me, mark someone, and write in the comments a lesson learned from live session number 1 yesterday, a lesson from live session number 2 tonight, and a lesson from live number 3 tomorrow. And then on Thursday, during the closing webinar, I will be uploading the comments in the system, and then the system will draw somebody, and that somebody is going to be the happy winner, lucky winner of 75% discount of my mentoring program, which I'm going to explain everything on Thursday. But the person needs to be live with me during the closing webinar. If the person is not participating in the closing webinar, I'm going to do a redraw until somebody is participating in the closing webinar. And you have until Thursday to complete your tasks. So if you're busy today or tomorrow, you still have Thursday to do all the things. And if you didn't take a screenshot of live session number 1, you can always go to the workshop hub. There is the replay is in there. You can watch the replay, you can learn few things, you can take a screenshot of that and write the learnings from the live sessions as well. Okay, so 6 practical examples of CPD. The first practical example, obviously, they are the obvious ones. They are the post-graduation courses. And CPD are just those events after graduation. If you did some courses before you graduated, those courses, they don't count. It's just going to count the courses that you did after your graduation. All right? So post-graduation courses could be specialization, masters, even courses that you do here in Australia. Your English course, if you're doing a certificate course here in Australia, or if you're doing a diploma or an advanced diploma, you can include in your CPD. Oh, Gerson, but I'm doing a diploma in business. Is it relevant? Yes, it is. You will see that some of the competencies in the validation process, they talk about business management. And so if you're doing a course in business, it is relevant. You can include that as one event of your CPD. And what you need to do, I mentioned about a table. So what you can do, you put some, let's say 5 columns in your table. You put the title of your event, the date that you did it, the duration of that event, the venue, where did you do it, and who organized, the organizer. So 5 columns. Title, I'll write in the comments. So 5 columns for the CPD table. I'll put in the brackets, title, date, duration, venue, and organizer. So you can copy that in Instagram as well. So you can create a table, and I suggest you to create this table now, tonight, if you could. And every time that you do something in terms of your professional development, write down in the table. Because in 3 or 4 or 5 months time, when you have to submit your CPD, if you don't take notes, if you're like me, I don't remember anything. So if I participate in a webinar today, I need to put in my CPD. Engineers Australia has a CPD part in the website for members, so I put in there so I don't forget. And then when I need to renew my membership and I have to demonstrate my 150 hours, I have everything recorded there. But now that you're not member yet, you can create a table, spreadsheet, or Excel or Word, and use those columns. And if you read a magazine, a technical magazine, if you read legislation, yeah, you can do that. So example number 1 is about post-graduation courses. Example number 2, conferences that you've attended as a participant or presenter. So if you submitted a white paper and you ended up presenting that white paper, in terms of duration, can be the duration not just, let's say that you took 1 hour to present your paper, but you took, let's say, 15 hours to put together that paper. So you can put 16 hours as part of that. Example number 3, other courses, workshops, seminars, discussion groups, technical inspections, technical visits, technical meetings that you've attended. So let's say that you are an electrical engineer. I think we've got, well, let's say Leonardo. Leonardo, he's an environmental engineer. So let's say that he ended up going to visit a site because there were some contamination land. And he went there to do some assessment and to evaluate few things about the contamination soil, etc., etc., etc. So he can use that technical visit as part of his CPD because he was actually collecting data, researching, taking samples, exchanging information with others. He was developing himself professionally in terms of contaminated soil treatment, for example. So he can say that he can use that technical visit as part of his CPD. Example number 4, it could be preparation and presentation of material for courses, meetings, symposiums, seminars, even in company presentation. Let's say that you worked for a company and then you, after you completed a project, for example, you had an engineering problem and you solved that problem, and then you presented that problem and the solution to the company, to the other engineers, etc. So you can actually use the preparation of that session, let's say a lessons learned session. You can use that as part of your CPD. So that's why there's a lot of work activities that you can actually use as part of your CPD, especially if you are researching, you are doing some literature review, you are researching about best practices in your field of engineering. You can use that as a CPD event. Example number 5 would be engineering profession services, especially volunteer work or mentoring, coaching, participation in committees or boards. So let's say that you are a fairly experienced engineer and you have some other junior engineers that work with you, and then you spend, let's say, 3 or 4 hours a week mentoring the younger engineers, teaching them and showing them how they do things related to your field of engineering. So that mentoring activity, it can be a CPD event. Volunteer work. When I participate in Engineers Australia interviews as a industry peer review or a supervisor peer review or an interview panel member, I review career episodes, I provide feedback, I participate in interviews, and in the end, Engineers Australia gives me a letter saying that I can use like 5 hours of CPD for that volunteer activity. So it can, if you do something like that, you can consider that as your CPD as well. But you guys probably going to use this one mostly, especially now if you are in Australia here. Example number 6 is about your private study. So including books, technical journals, technical magazines, technical specifications, legislation, those are the things that webinars, workshops, those are the things that you can include as part of your CPD. If you go to Engineers Australia website, if you put in the search box events, you will find many CPD events that are actually for free. See if I can, I'll quickly show you guys here. So a little bit of tutorial for you guys. I'll just share my screen. Where's that? New tab, Google Chrome. Yeah. So when you put Engineers Australia, so that's the website. I think you put here learning and events, and then you'll find events, webinars, and courses. I think that's the one. And then there's probably here. Some of them are free, others you have to pay. Let's have a look. This one, if it is free or not. Well, it's free for members, and if you are a student, member, or non-member, $30. It's not that expensive. It gives you 1 hour CPD, but you can include in your event. Let's see if there is any which is free. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. This one, Rail Safety National Law. That's quite expensive, $400. But there are some free events. Where are the free events? Conference, seminars. So let's say free webinar. Mandatory registration in Victoria. So that's a webinar for those that live in Victoria. Yeah, that's a free event for members and non-members. It gives you 1 hour CPD as well. So it talks about the registration scheme in Victoria. 12:30 to 1:30 p.m. 26th of July. It's a webinar, and that's it. You know, you can start doing those ones and keep yourself updated with what's happening. And in the resources, you will find a good source of CPD as well. The only thing is that you probably need to pay this one. Systems engineering, and there's decarbonizing infrastructure, clean energy, guide for design engineers and builder certifiers. Yeah, this looks like a good reading, especially for you to get some of the terminology. So it's free, so you can read and get yourself 1 or 2 hours of CPD and improve your technical terminology as well. All right. And I think that's pretty much it for tonight. So we saw about the top 7 questions. We saw the top 7 mistakes that engineers usually make. We also covered about if you are a self-employed or a business owner, and also 6 practical examples of CPD, and also some tutorial how to find yourself some of the CPD events. And reminding that tomorrow, 8 p.m. Brisbane time, we will be here again for live number 3, where I'm going to talk about the career episodes, the summary statement, the risks of plagiarism, and also the revision process if your application is not successful with Engineers Australia. And if you have questions about it, you can always go to the workshop hub. I'm going to show you here. That's this one. So that's the workshop hub, where here you can watch the replay of live session number 1, and then you can watch the replay of the opening session and the replay of the live session number 1 as well. Live session obviously 3 and the closing session is still not activated. You can join the WhatsApp group if you haven't joined yet, and you can put your comments. Lucas, he put a comment and I replied to that comment. He's saying, hey Jerson, I have a doubt. As you know, I've already introduced myself to you on your live session yesterday. I'm from Brazil and I'm living in Rio Branco nowadays. I've received my graduation in electrical engineering from a private university. Could that be one more reason to make validation process even more difficult? And then I replied, hi Lucas, thanks for participating and for your question. There is no discrimination between public and private universities, as long as they are legally registered with the Education Ministry in Brazil. This registration serves as basis that the curriculum is acceptable and equivalent to all universities that offer that course. So there's no discrimination between private and public. I've got many of my students approved. They studied public universities. Many others, they studied in private universities. So there's no problem. So very easy to access the website. I'm going to paste again the link if you want to double check the website, YouTube and Instagram. All right, if there's no more questions, I would like to thank you guys very much for your participation tonight. And I hope to see you guys tomorrow. And don't forget to go to my Instagram post and make sure that you read the description, follow the rules, take a screenshot of tonight's live session. And I'll see you then tomorrow, 8 p.m. Brisbane time. Thank you very much, guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.